Alright, what's going on, everybody? I just got the Riptide today. I've been waiting 3 months or so for this, and it just finally came in the mail like literally a couple minutes ago. So I'm gonna get this open because I'm really excited to try this. So wait, there's another box. Another Riptide box. Box part 2. Okay. Oh my god. This is a lot larger than it seemed. Holy shit, that's a clean board. There's some complaints online of the wheel smelling, but it's actually not that bad for mine. Put that. Oh god, that's heavy. Almost tripped. Here, this should be the accessories box. Owner's manual. Remote. I think same remote that comes with like the Meepo. Sticker. Bearings. 2 belts. Of course, a charger. I think that's for the remote. This charger should be for the board, and this is a skate tool. Alright, so that's the unboxing. I'm gonna go ride this, and I will record that in a bit. Hey everybody, so you just finished watching me unbox the Riptide for the first time. The footage in the background is first me riding it for the first time, then later on is me just riding around my area. But I'm gonna do like basically a voiceover of my review while the footage is playing in the background. So I've owned the board for about 2 weeks now, ridden around back and forth a couple of times, and I've gotten to know the board pretty decently well. And so first, a little bit about myself. I've been riding electric skateboards for about a year now, a little bit over a year. I have a boosted board, V2 Dual Plus, and I have about 1,500 miles on that. So I have a lot of experience riding that. I have a bunch of other friends in the area that also have boards, so I've ridden Meepos, Actons, an Arc Aileron, and like Carbon GT, so a bunch of other boards that I've experienced. So I've experienced hub motors and belt-driven motors. But this is a Riptide. You know, it goes for around $600. It's a really nice board, first of all. But let me just go right into the review here. Let me just give you some descriptions of what this board is. First of all, the design. It's a really beautiful looking, in my opinion, 31-inch deck. I think it's just normal Canadian maple wood. It has a slight concave for a bit easier carving, and it has a kicktail. The kicktail is honestly really great. I love what you can do with the kicktail. You can, you know, quickly maneuver your angles really quickly, and you can use it to jump off curbs, which I've done a handful of times. So, if you're coming from longboards, I would beware of the kicktail. You should really pay attention to how you're positioning your weight, especially if your foot is on the kicktail when you're accelerating or braking or going up hills, because you're going to be pushing your foot back there. You don't want to lift the board up while you're doing any of those things. So that's one thing to just be really careful about. The handles on the board are really nice. It's really convenient. It makes it easier to pick it up and carry a longer distance. The board is still about 13 pounds though, so it's not the lightest board, but the handles definitely do make it a lot easier. There is no grip tape in that handle area, but that hasn't been a problem for me. Sometimes I have found myself stepping there when I'm repositioning, but I haven't seen any problem with that. So the deck being Canadian maple, it's not flexy, so don't expect the comfort of a longboard, even if the wheels are similar, which I'll talk about right in a bit. So there's no flex, so it's not as a comfortable ride. But other than that, the deck is short and portable, which I really like. So the wheels are these nice. I have the R1, not the Elite version. So I have these nice light blue wheels that are 83 millimeters and 78A diameter. And they're really similar to the boosted or orangutan Kegels, which are 88 millimeters and 80A diameter. They're really similar, but again, like I said before, don't expect the same comfort as the boosted board. Online, I read some things like on Reddit about the wheels smelling. So it does smell the first time you get it, like probably a bit more than it does now, but it really isn't a problem. Like after a day, and after like riding and keeping it in the air for a while, it doesn't really smell unless you get up really close. Like it just has like, you know, that wheel smell, new wheel smell of a skateboard wheel or a longboard wheel. So it's not a horrible smell either. So it shouldn't be too distracting at all. So I don't think that should be something that you need to worry about. People have talked about wheel bite. I have never experienced it myself, but I am a lot lighter. So if you're heavier and you are experiencing it, I would suggest adding risers or tightening the truck. Next thing I want to talk about is the remote. It's this standard-looking electric skateboard remote. A lot of boards use it, like the Meepo. I do not like it as much as the boosted board remote, of course. Boosted remote is like top of the line. I like the wheel of the boosted board remote, which the Riptide does not. And it's a bit more sensitive than the boosted board remote, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's honestly not too big of a problem. And I have not had a problem with the lack of a dead man switch. Like, just the throttle is fine. And on the fly, so the remote has a on the fly mode switching. So you have 3 different modes, and it's good to be able to switch between them because sometimes I don't want to be using expert mode. I want to be using eco modes. So really quickly, it has 3 modes: beginner mode, which has slow acceleration and lower top speed. I don't know what the exact top speed is at the moment, but it is a lot lower. Like, you're not going to be going too fast in beginner mode. Eco mode is slower acceleration but maximum top speed, which on this board is 18 miles per hour. And expert mode is faster acceleration and max top speed. I'll be talking about like the acceleration later on after I finish talking about the remote. So continuing with the remote, there are buttons on the side that toggles the reverse mode. I did once hit the button by accident because I thought it was the mode switching button, so try not to do that. But even if you do, I don't think it instantly stops your board or like puts you in reverse. I think in my one experience, it like slowed me down first, but I'm not 100% sure, so try not to do that. And it is micro USB charging. I think it fits really well in the hand. It's not too big, it's not too small. And for motor response, when you're throttling it, it's not really that laggy. I know some like hub motor boards have been laggy in my experience. Like, there's always this weird slight delay whenever I'm using a hub motor board, and those like cheap hub motor boards, and I'm not a fan of that. With the boosted, of course, it's instant reaction, which is fine. But yeah, there's not much lag, if any, for this remote. Alright, moving on to some other technical specifications with the motor system. It is a dual belt drive, 1800 watts, so it has basically the same or really similar power to the boosted dual, not the dual plus. The dual plus definitely has a bit more power than this, but it definitely has power. The R1, my model, goes 18 miles per hour, and the R1 Elite goes 20 miles per hour. The R1 Elite uses these ABEC wheels, which are larger, and it's able to achieve a faster speed, but lower acceleration, but I think also higher range. So the sound from the motor is more or less the same as the boosted board sound. Like, for belt-driven systems, you have to expect that noise from belt-driven motors, so it's to be expected. Alright, so acceleration and deceleration. The board definitely has power. Like, it's definitely a little bit less powerful than the boosted dual plus, especially when the battery is low. There is like torque sag. Like, you're not going to be getting the highest power when your battery is low, like maybe past 50%. But if you're fully charged, you will definitely have the power to go up most typical hills. And regarding the acceleration and deceleration curve, so on the highest mode, on the expert mode, it's definitely touchy, especially if you're going at a lower speed. Like, if you're going from stop, hitting the acceleration will basically skip it to a not too gradual of a speed. Like, it'll jump you to a little bit faster speed, but it's not an intense jump. So basically, I have an example. Like, if you're riding on pro mode and you want, or expert mode, and you want to ride alongside somebody walking, you wouldn't want to be on the highest mode because it'll sort of jerk you forward and you'll be going a little bit too fast and you want to brake, but then you're going too slow and you want to jerk forward again. So for those situations, I'd prefer the eco mode. So in expert mode, since it is touchy, you do have to anticipate when you're accelerating and decelerating, make sure you're shifting your weight correctly. However, once you master it, it really isn't that bad because the board won't like instantly bring you to top speed anyway. There is still a gradual increase. Like, even if you pull the trigger or the throttle all the way to the top, like, it won't bring you to full speed. It'll gradually get to that speed. So you really just have to get used to it, take some time to learn the board. So I'll admit though, I do not use Pro mode as often as Eco mode. I prefer the Eco mode's slower acceleration because it is less touchy. However, when I do need, that torque when I'm accelerating or decelerating, I can always switch to expert mode if I want. Expert mode isn't horrible. It's just my personal preference that I like Eco mode a bit better because it feels more gradual and safer when I'm accelerating or braking. But of course, you do lose that braking power. So that's where switching modes on the fly comes in handy. You're able to switch it really quickly, and then use that torque if you need to. So it's not a hard board to learn for beginners. You just have to make sure you actually take the time to learn it. Continuing on, for coasting the board, if you're letting go of the motor, it's really not that bad. You kind of barely feel the belts when you let go of the remote. You kind of just glide. Of course, it's still belt driven, so you're not going to be getting like a full top speed if you're using a non-electric board, but it's still nice compared to some other boards I've been on. So moving on to battery. The battery is 97 watt hours, which you can legally bring on planes. I haven't tried yet, but if you do plan on bringing it on a plane, I would always check with your airline first. It seems that carry-on is most likely fine since it is under the 99 watt hour limit. So with the range, it is up to 7-mile range on the R1 and 8 miles on the R1 Elite. I have not personally done a full range test yet, but for my usage and estimates, it's really similar to the boosted standard range battery, which is around 6-7 miles. I might even get more, but again, I haven't tested it fully. But it definitely feels like you're able to achieve that kind of mileage if you're light. I weigh about 120 pounds, and especially if you don't go full throttle all the time or accelerating from stop, you can definitely get to that range. So I have the standard battery charger. I don't have the fast charger. With the standard charger, it takes 3.5 hours to fully charge from full. So if you do need to bring your charger and charge somewhere, I would expect to wait a while for your board to charge to full. It definitely isn't something you can plug in for a little bit and then get back on the road with full power, unless you get the fast charger, which charges in 90 minutes. So another thing about the battery is the battery port. This may or may not just be my model, but the suction of the battery port cover is extremely hard to pull out when it's in all the way. So much that from pulling it just a couple times in the last week, I think I've started to rip part of the rubber. So I'm really afraid if I just keep doing this, I won't be able to pull it out easily again. So if this is happening to you, I would recommend just wiggling it from all sides of the port until you can, pull the whole thing out. Pulling the tab, I think will eventually break the rubber. So another thing about the charger, or at least my standard charger, is it is very light, so you can bring it around. But again, it takes a long time to charge it, so it might be a trade-off that you can't charge your board as quick. So that's basically my thoughts on all the board specifications and what I've learned from riding this board. I have a little bit of extra information that I have about the board. So the board is supposedly as water resistant as possible. So I don't recommend riding in too much watery conditions, but it should be able to take the occasional wet roads here and there. But again, it's not meant to be ridden in a lot of water. So I do not recommend that. So the belts and the motor cap actually look easily replaceable. It really seems similar to the Boosted setup. Boosted has this module design where you can change parts. I'm not sure about the motors and the battery for Riptide, but the belts and the motor cap are definitely easily fixable, as well as the skid guard. It looks like it is reversible, but I have not tried that myself, so do not quote me on that. So another thing is, if you have the R1 with the smaller blue wheels, you can always at any time buy the bigger ABEC wheels and replace the blue wheels, and you'll gain all the benefits of the R1 Elite. So you can do that at any time at Riptide's website. You can buy their wheels. So my final thoughts are that for $600, or if you're lucky enough to get it cheaper at some of their sales the last couple of months, this is a really great electric skateboard, whether it's your first or your second board. It's very fun to ride, especially with the kicktail, which allows you to do much more with an ESK8 that you can't do with normal longboards, and has very comparable power and specs to boards of much higher prices than it. And so it's really straightforward to use and learn. You just have to make sure you spend the time getting to know the board, And of course, I always recommend safety when riding an ESK8. Make sure to always wear a helmet and any other protective gear that you might want to use. With all that said, I don't think I see myself using this as a long-range board often or at all, because at 18 miles per hour it's much slower than cars in a 25 mile per hour road. So it's slow enough that I wouldn't feel comfortable on the road most of the time, where my boosted board at 22 miles per hour would be completely fine. So I find myself preferring sidewalks most of the time, when there's like a lack of a bike lane. Otherwise I take the bike lane, especially when the roads are busy. I won't be on the main road. It also would be uncomfortable riding long distances on this stiff deck, but it's certainly durable if you have the endurance to do so. I do, however, see myself using this as a short distance board. I would use this to get to the bus and off the bus to get to my destination, so basically a true last mile electric skateboard. Or if I'm traveling close to my apartment to do a really quick task, if I want to just take my more portable Riptide with me, get to my destination, do whatever to do, and quickly get back without having to lug my larger boosted board around. So because I have two boards, I have a very specific use case for the Riptide, and it's perfect for that use case. For you, you might ride this differently. You might even ride this in all cases as a long range, short range, whatever, and honestly, it would be fine. Like, as long as you're used to it and you can deal with it, it would work fine in those situations, of course, within the range that you have. So it is really up to your ride preferences. So again, all in all, very good board. I do recommend it. Again, I've been riding this for 2 weeks now. Later down the line, if anything happens, maybe I'll make a review video a couple months down the line if anything changes. But first 2 weeks riding the board, it's nice. I really like it. It's really fun. So that's basically it for my review. The rest of the video is just raw ride footage. So please enjoy that. And then at the end, there's also a little bit of bonus clips of me riding my boosted board around. So I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe. I plan on hopefully making more ESK8 videos in future, maybe more raw ride footage. I also like to organize a lot of group rides at my university, so sometimes we have group rides, so maybe I'll make videos of that. I also occasionally stream my rides on Twitch, as well as certain video games. More info in the description. So if you did like the video, please consider liking. If you have any comments, feel free to comment anything with feedback, suggestions, and please do consider subscribing. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully I will see you guys next time.